We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. It is Friday. We are doing a Substack live. Didn't have a lot planned today. I love doing the Substack lives because I can do it by myself. I don't have to encumber a bunch of people and take up their time. I can sit and talk to a bunch of great folks like I always do on Substack, and it's just an easy night. And I'm a retired guy. I like fucking easy nights. I like easy days. I like easy nights and days. Why put in the work if you don't have to? Well, we're at 10:12 Central Time. That's 11:12 Eastern Time, and that means we're 48 minutes away from the end of the pause for Donald Trump's tariffs. So, what's going on with the tariffs? I know you don't know, because I don't know. Donald Trump doesn't even fucking know. The pause was supposed to come off at midnight tonight, Eastern Time. But what have we heard? First of all, we heard that he's given Mexico another 90 days. Little taco Donnie out there, chicken shit Donnie, chickening out again. He's given a bunch of other people another week. He somehow thinks that he can scare them even further and get them to capitulate. But, they haven't done it after the April deadline, the July deadline, or this deadline. Donald Trump just keeps walking it back because he keeps making threats and people aren't buying into it. Now, Canada is supposed to take effect tonight. It was going to be 25%, but he's really mad at Canada right now. The reason he's mad at Canada is because they took the side of the Palestinians in this situation with Israel and Palestine. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. So he's going to punish him. The fuck does that have to do with trade? Well, it has nothing to do with trade. It's about Donald Trump being butthurt, his ego being bruised, and having to do something to fight back. I got to tell you, he looks absolutely silly in what he's doing here. And how it's going to affect the markets and just the economy generally is going to be ridiculous. Donald Trump loves to tell us that the economy is the best ever, best in the world. Prices are up, coffee, gas, cars, just about everything. And it really hasn't kicked into the tariffs yet. So once the tariffs kick in, if they do, we know Canada's going to start tomorrow or tonight. But then I heard something about that too. Well, it's going to affect everything but those things in the trade agreement he cut years ago with Mexico and Canada. So 95 or 94% of whatever comes out of Canada fits in that original trade agreement. So it's everything else that the tariffs are going to be on. That's 6%. Oh, that's terrifying, Donnie. See, Donnie's great about trying to make a show of it, but he has no substance because he doesn't really know what he's doing. His only strategy is to try to intimidate or scare somebody so they bend over and give him whatever he wants. People just ain't doing that now. All right, we got a lot of people coming in. I like that. You guys are absolutely essential in doing a Substack Live. I need you to interact, talk, question me, give observations, whatever. But I really need you to participate. Otherwise, this is going to be a long and boring fucking show. Black Believer of Yeshua. Aloha, Mike from Hawaii. Aloha to you. Thank you for joining us. Spacer says, I think he will taco. Well, he's already kind of tacoed out here, giving Mexico 90 days and some others another week. Like, that's going to make a fucking difference. The funny thing about it is he said he was going to cut 90 deals in 90 days. Now, in the end, it's really come up to be 8 deals. But those 8 deals aren't signed. They're just frameworks for a deal. There's no deal signed. I mean, what Donald Trump forgets to remember is that these trade deals take a while, like the trade deal with Mexico and Canada that he's violating currently. Yeah, that took 2 years to get that fucker done. Not 90 days, not a week, not 24 hours, but Donnie Trump just does not grasp this. Vincent Johnny says 35% tariff rate. Yeah, that's what's in Canada. It was 25 but they pissed Donnie off, so now it's 35% and allegedly taking effect in 43 minutes. So we'll see what that is and how much impact it actually has. Spacer says France seems to be the only one with the gut to remain in opposition to Trump. Ursula von der Leyen superficially capitulated to Trump because of the no confidence vote from European far-right politicians in the EU Commission. You know, that's the funny thing is Donald Trump made a lot of claims. They're going to make a $500 billion investment in this country. Sounds good. But what he's really saying is there are independent companies in that country that are talking about doing that. They haven't signed anything. They haven't agreed to anything. And if it's not the government doing it, well, then it's not a trade deal. It's bullshit. The other thing is, and I heard this on TikTok, and this was a great point by Mr. Global. He was talking about all this energy we're alleged to be selling, bunch to Japan, 750 billion to the EU or whatever the fuck it's going to be. Yeah, it's big news. But Donald Trump has already sold more than 100% of the energy that we export. How do you do that? Unless it's a fucking Ponzi scheme. This is typical Donald Trump selling shit that doesn't exist. It's equivalent to somebody selling you the Brooklyn Bridge. You can buy the Brooklyn Bridge, but you can't own the Brooklyn Bridge because the fucker selling it to you doesn't own it. Adam Grant says, "Hey, Boomer, Adam here. How you doing? I'm doing just great, Adam. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it." Roseanne says, "News that GDP grew 3% in the second quarter has Trump now changing his tune on who's responsible for the economy. The Economist says it's misleading because so many imports coming in from countries are trying to avoid looming tariffs." Yeah, and that's exactly right. It's kind of the problem is nobody really knows what's going on. The stock market goes up, it goes down because they don't know what Donnie's going to do. It's very confusing because Donnie says one thing and then he changes it to another thing. He says he's going to put tariffs on, then he pussies out. It's impossible. But you're absolutely right. A lot of people have been worried about this whole tariff thing, so they've been bringing in a bunch of goods. But that will catch up to you. If tariffs actually take effect, that will impact the cost of things. And frankly, things are already going up. Aluminum, steel, coffee, gas, cars, all of it's going up. And that's not going to be good for this country or the economy. Our economy is in a state of flux. It's uncertain. And economies don't like that when there's uncertainty. So we'll see what happens after midnight Eastern time tonight. We'll see if Donald Trump does something. Hey, what he could do too is at 12:58 he could read off a list of 81 deals that he cut in the last hour. That might be. I'm not betting on it. Adam Grant says we can get better control when AIPAC stops paying Congress. I tend to agree with you. And it's not just AIPAC, but AIPAC particularly. They seem to taint all politicians, not just Republican. But we have a lot of lobbyists. We have a lot of PACs that pour a lot of money into Congress, and they dictate what Congress does. It's not who they represent, it's who pays them. And this is Republicans and Democrats alike. And you're absolutely right. We have to get them out, get money completely out of politics if we hope to have politicians working for us. Spacer said, "Did you see DUI hire Hegseth is looking at a possible run for Tennessee governor?" What's wrong? What's wrong, Petey? Things not going well at the Pentagon? Yeah, he's under a lot of stress. He's got a couple of problems. He makes big mistakes constantly. He talked a big game before he became the Secretary of Defense, but he came up short on something. He didn't realize that when you got there, it's an actual job. There's shit you have to do. stuff that's not necessarily going to make the news, just the administrative stuff, and he doesn't have the tools to do it. He just fucking doesn't have the tools. So, yeah, Pete's probably going to quit, and that'll be interesting to see who they get to replace him. I would say I hope it's better, but can't get any fucking worse, so what the hell? And then you've got the FBI. Hell, the FBI, Kash Patel, we haven't seen him in a couple of months. I don't know where the hell he's hiding, but he's on the verge of cracking. Dan Bongino, whenever he gets interviewed, he looks like he's ready to cry. And another person who's missing. Have you noticed? Pammy Bondi. He's not around anywhere. The heat from the Epstein files is really getting to her. I don't think Donald Trump has a lot of confidence in her. And, in one regard, I feel sorry for her. Everybody keeps blaming Pam Bondi for not releasing the Epstein files. So they say fire her. Donald Trump's thinking, maybe I'll fire her. What difference would that make, Donnie? You fire her, you put somebody else in, they're still not going to get released because it's Donald Trump that's holding back, not Pam Bondi. Spacer says it still would be hilarious to see him fall. Oh, it's going to be hilarious when we see them all fall. They will ultimately they will all ultimately fall. Adam Grant says, I choked on a piece of chicken hearing that. No, don't choke on chicken. That brings me to another picture in my mind. Let's not go there. I don't have it formulated in my head. Haven't heard from Ice Barbie either lately. They got all the money and have nothing to show for it. That's one thing I did a TikTok today about. Now, I want to talk about it briefly. I've been watching these videos where ICE is going out, doing raids and making arrests. There's a lot of videos showing up on mainstream media and on social media. I'm watching these fucking clowns, fully masked, big tough guys, breaking out windows of cars, dragging people out of cars, attacking, assaulting, and kidnapping citizens of this country, legal aliens. They don't give a fuck. And it pisses me off, quite frankly. I'm a big hater of bullies, and what's going on here is the epitome of bullying. And I'm thinking, there's a lot of people say, we can't have this happening. There's got to be something we can do. We got to do something about this. Well, that's true. We do. But funny, no one has any answers. Not even the Democrats have an answer of what to do. Take them to court? Yeah, you've done that. That hasn't really worked in slowing them down at all. And I can honestly say I don't really have an answer either. But we've got to do something. We've got to at least start making some inroads to dealing with these fucks. And here's what I suggest. All these videos, they need to go viral all the time on mainstream media and at least on social media. We want everybody in the country to watch what Donald Trump, Tom Homan, and Kristi Noem are doing to innocent people, women, and children. See it over and over again, so they're constantly having to see it themselves and look at it. Send it out throughout the country and throughout the world. If you see these videos, share the fuck out of them. Send them everywhere. That's the first step. And then when we're talking about Democratic candidates, this is what I'd like to hear from them regarding ICE. Say a presidential candidate, whoever that might be. I want them to say to me, you elect me. The first thing I will do is suspend all activities for ICE. The moment I get in the door, they're suspended. They're not doing anything. Then investigations have to start with each and every person in ICE and connected to ICE. I'm talking about Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, everybody else in ICE. Any of those people, and it would be most of them that were involved in criminal activity according to the Constitution, they first need to be fired. Then they need to be prosecuted. Once they're prosecuted and convicted, they need to be detained in the detainment camps that they built for fucking immigrants. But we need to go on a tear through ICE, shut them down, and send them to fucking jail. Roseanne says, wait till the opposition gets the chance to splash Hegseth's history in all its glory if he dares to run for governor. We've seen the story before. I'm almost looking forward to it. Yeah, I'd love to see him run for governor. This motherfucker doesn't have um, have the qualifications to run for house mother at a fraternity. He couldn't fucking even do that. He's like Donald Trump in one respect. He loves to put on the show, but he doesn't like to do anything at all. He doesn't do anything at all. He just this fucking dancing monkey that wants all the adulation, wants to go to the parties, wants to pound liquor and act a fool. That's what he does. Doesn't put any work in. Pete Hegseth is a waste. And the thing about it is, as I understand it, he was born and raised here in Minnesota, in my state. Petey, why don't you come to Minnesota and try to run for governor here? See how that goes in a fucking blue state. Pete, I wouldn't even suggest you come to Minnesota because you would not get a very good welcome. We are embarrassed that you may have come from this state. We are embarrassed that there might be relatives of yours in this state. And I hope there's not, because they may run into some of the problems that you're making for judges and lawyers and all the people around the country. You're a danger to this country. We have no national security anymore because he just throws it out everywhere. We have somebody who's an idiot controlling and running our national defense. That's got to be putting us at great risk internationally at this point. A fucking clown running the national defense. It's absolutely ridiculous. We are watching. When I watch those videos, it really frustrates me because people will say, I will say, that doesn't happen in this country. Fuck, it doesn't. It's happening right now. And everybody wants to do something, but nobody has an answer for it. Spacer says Tennessee is pretty much a mess of a state. There are some good people like Ed. We need a champion to run there. Maybe one of those 3 state house members who were expelled that one time. I forget their names. Yeah, yeah. One of them just was on TV. They were trying to go into a meeting and they were pushed out by the governor or a mayor or somebody like that. Yeah, they would be good choices. By the way, Ed will be on the Rational Boomer podcast tomorrow. Actually Saturday. Depends on when you're listening to this live. But Ed's going to be on. We're going to talk to him about Tennessee and maybe get his input on what he thinks about Pete Hegseth being governor. I'm sure he's going to have some great insights for that. Thing about it is Ed, I met when he worked here in Minnesota. He was from Tennessee, lived in Minnesota for a number of years, number of decades, and then he moved back to Tennessee after he retired. Now he's in the process of figuring out how to move back to Minnesota. Yeah, it's cold as a bitch here, but I'd rather have cold for 6 months out of the year than 12 months of fucking dumbasses everywhere. Adam says, I'm embarrassed to be British American. The world is laughing at us. They are absolutely laughing at us. And, my wife always says this. I say this. I hope the people of this world understand it's not us. It's the dumb fucks that are doing this. And we want to get him out of here just as quickly as we possibly can. Spacer says Britain needs to vote for Corbyn, Dump, Starmer, and never Farage. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, Starmer, I don't know enough about British politics, but every time I see Starmer, I feel like he's this complicit idiot. I may be wrong because I don't know anything about him, but when he was sitting there with Donald Trump in this recent press conference and Donald Trump was talking shit about the mayor who was a friend of Starmer, and Starmer says, well, he's my friend. That's what you're going to do? That's how you're going to stand up for your friend? Fuck you. Roseanne says, I can't figure out how come Trump keeps defending Hegseth. He's such an easy patsy for a lot of Trump's missteps. Well, I'll be honest with you. Who else is he going to put there? Nobody of any value wants that job. He doesn't want to go through the process of trying to get them cleared through Congress. It's just an easy thing for him. Donald Trump is a lazy motherfucker. He's stupid, but he's lazy as well. He doesn't want to have to replace him. Spacer says Starmer is like the Jeffreys of England. That's a good point. That's a good explanation, Spacer. I now know exactly who he is. I got to tell you, Jeffries, I was woefully disappointed in him. When he first took over as the leader in the House for the Democratic Party, I thought, he's a strong guy. He's articulate. He's a good talker. He's going to be a good, strong leader for the Democratic Party. Unfortunately, he's not. He's too tied in with all the old crows in Congress. He's their puppet, essentially, and he makes horrible mistakes. He says stupid shit. I want to like Hakeem Jeffries, but I just don't. I don't trust him. You know, we have a lot of people in the Democratic Party, and that's a quandary we have. Nobody likes the Republicans because they're a dumpster fire, but nobody likes the Democrats because of how they behave. They've got this elitist attitude, above it all attitude. They're not ready to engage or fight against the people that are trying to tear apart this country, so people don't trust the Democrats either. Well, that's a problem. If nobody trusts anybody, then who gets voted in? And we were talking about this in a live on TikTok yesterday. And I said, we got to look at this as take a page from Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump ran as a Republican, but nothing he does is Republican or conservative, but he still won. And he won because he created a brand for himself. He was unto himself, even though he was in the Republican Party. And that's what we need. We need to build some personalities and some characters in the Democratic Party so that people can latch on to individuals. They don't want to own up. They don't want to be a part of the Democratic Party. But if they find a candidate that they like and they can get behind, well, then we've got something. So much like what Donald Trump did in 2016 and 2020, or 2020 and 2024, we have to do the same thing with the Democrats. We've got to find somebody who can garner attention and is maybe a little outside the box. People have clearly shown us that they don't like establishment politics, especially establishment Democrats. And that's why the old people in the Democratic Party are a problem for us, because they are establishment. And if the young people don't like them, well, we need them to move the fuck out and get some young people in there. Spacer says macaroni is the only one pushing back. Thank you, France. And Spacer says Macron. I thought you were being sarcastic, but either way, we know what you were saying. Adam Grant says the repugs are MAGA Trump party. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is no such thing as the Republican Party anymore. There's no such thing as the conservatives in the Republican Party. I mean, how can you be conservative if you pass a bill that's going to increase the debt by $3 or $4 trillion? That's not conservative at all. That's not how it works. But the Republicans don't give a shit. That tells you a lot about the Republicans. We're fiscally responsible. We are against the debt. But every time they get in, they do the opposite of what they say. Donald Trump comes in and throws the apple cart upside down, and they just jump on him because they feel like there's a certain amount of power or money behind him, and they'll do whatever it takes. That's what you have to understand about the Republicans. They don't give a fuck what they're doing. Anything they tell you is not what they want. They'll do and say anything they can to get reelected. Spacer says, sorry for the typos, turned off spell check, LOL. Yeah, don't worry about that shit, Spacer. This is a casual meeting. I don't get too precious with typos and those sorts of things. Unless you were a Trumplefuck, then I'd give you shit about it. But other than that, we're good. We're good. I appreciate the comments and the insights that I get from people who come to Substack. It makes things so much easier, and I enjoy coming to Substack. You know, I do the TikToks, and TikToks is a good platform for doing lives too. We get tons of people in there. I have guests on there, and and it's a good time. It's a little more chaotic than what we have here. Um, and I have to get other people involved, moderators and that sort of thing. That's why it makes it a little more cumbersome to do the TikTok lives. Substack's great. I turn on the fucking phone and I just start talking to the people who show up. I like this. I like this mode a lot. We just need to get more and more people coming in so we can have the same effect that we do on TikTok. Adam Grant says, how many Substacks have you done? Are you talking about lives? I've done a number of lives. And Adam, what I basically do is when I do a TikTok, I also put the TikToks on YouTube and I put the TikToks on Substack and Blue Sky too. So I've done a lot of Substacks. I've done a lot of them, and I'll continue to do it because I really enjoy um, Substack and the people on it. You notice when I'm here, I don't have to fight with Trumplefuck. And maybe that's because I'm a smaller creator here than I am on TikTok, but that's cool. I've always said this. Look, I don't really care how many people are in the audience. If there's an audience, then I have to do what I have to do. I have to do what I promise I will do. And we talk about things. So whether there's 57 people in here now or 570 on TikTok, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're all part of the same mindset. And the more we can talk to one another, express our ideas and our perceptions, the better off we are. So whether it's a small group, a big group, a medium group, I don't really give a shit. We got to talk about this stuff. And my hopes, I know that as one guy sitting here talking, I'm not going to fix anything. What's going to work here is if I can talk and inspire you to talk, and then you talk to people who are then going to talk. That's how we build some kind of groundswell or some kind of grassroots thing. Vincent Johnny says, thoughts on internet censorship push going on. Yeah, that's weird. TikTok is really weird. And I'm a little annoyed with TikTok. I'm almost getting tired of TikTok. I was talking to somebody earlier today and I said, I might not even do TikTok if it weren't for the followers. I have a number of followers on TikTok, something like 471,000. And I have a responsibility to those people to be there every day. I've been there for 5 years. And if I just don't show up one day, that would be kind of chicken shit on my part. But I'm seeing the number of views that I get going way down. My followers go up and my views go down. That makes no sense. There are people getting banned, left side creators getting banned on TikTok. Like Casey Nas got banned today, and she's getting pretty fed up with this shit. Hawk has been banned a number of times. A lot of people have been banned. I've been fortunate not to get banned, although I did have a video taken down the other day. I appealed it and I won. And people have to understand when you get banned or you get a video taken down, it's not typically that TikTok is hearing something and making that decision. What's happening is some Trumplefuck gets butthurt or thinks he's a tough guy and he makes a complaint. And then, of course, TikTok just immediately takes you down and doesn't put you back up until you say, no, I didn't. Here's why. So you have to go through that process. It makes it more difficult. I've said this before. I threatened this before, and I'm getting closer to wanting to do it. Because I have a large following on TikTok, and what the TikTok Trumplefucks are doing is attacking certain creators. So I'm thinking to myself, if I got 471,000 followers on TikTok, I can grab any Trumplefuck, give his name, maybe show a little bit of the video, and say, I don't like this motherfucker. Why don't you reasonably minded folks on TikTok do exactly what the Republicans and the Trumplefucks do to us? It would be kind of fun taking some of them down. That's not my preference, but I'm getting kind of annoyed as of lately. Have you seen the gerrymandered map Republicans have put forward? I saw a Republican California map includes no Republican districts in a possible draft of a redraw. Yeah, the thing about it is that we can't match them one for one because they can't comprehend that. I saw somebody talking about this. I can't remember who it was. It was a lawyer. And he says if they're going to gerrymander and cut out like 5 Democratic seats, we need to go ahead and cut out 30. They do another 5, we cut out 30 more. We need to fight on their level. We need to be mean, we need to be dirty. Now, doing this gerrymandering, Democrats are less likely to do that. They do gerrymandering too. But if we're gonna put in this kind of fight, let's fucking do it. Let's go after them. And then I started thinking about this. I'm thinking, okay, we got states gerrymandering, trying to rig the election for whatever party they want, whether it be Democrat or Republican. We've got other countries coming in and trying to influence the elections through social media. We may even have people fucking around with the election machines. What's the point of doing the elections if they're tainted like that? We may need to find a whole new way to do this. Adam Grant says, banned 9 times. I did not know that, Adam. You're banned 9 times. Adam, I'm going to give you the trick to not getting banned. You know how I talk. I've never been banned. And there's a way to do this. It will affect how many followers you have. If I didn't do this, I would have a ton more followers, but I refuse to do it. And what I would say is every time you do a video, go through your videos. And if there's anybody making a Trump-fuck type remark, block them. Block them immediately. My contention was I'll have fewer followers, but if they can't see me, they can't report me. And that's one of the ways I've been able to avoid a lot of my videos taken down and being banned. I block every Trump-fuck. Go in my comments sometime and take a look at any video I put out. 99.99% of it is positive. You very rarely see negative shit in my comments. And if I run across those comments and I get some negative shit, whether it be with me, whether it be with Joe Biden, or whether it be somebody else in the comments, they immediately get blocked. If I come across a dumbass Trump-fuck while I'm scrolling, I block them too. Just everybody I block. I've always felt like the platform is more valuable than the interaction with dumb fucks. Easy choice. Spacer says media is complicit. I search up information on Democratic lawmakers, for example. All you get in the feed is negative headlines. Yeah, media has been complicit. There's no question about it. There is really no newsworthy use of mainstream media. I mean, if I was going to watch somebody, and it's rare, would be MSNBC, but even MSNBC has problems. So it's hard to get real news or the full news story on mainstream media. Heard something today that Joe Rogan is now no longer the #1 podcast. It's Midas Touch. Now, Midas Touch isn't my favorite to listen to. And it's not because they don't do a good job. They do a good job. I just don't like how they do it. It's too slow for me. I like to get the facts and then check out the details of it on my own. But it's good to see that Midas Touch is getting that kind of traction because it says a lot about how few people are feeling in this country. It's also interesting to see that people like Joe Rogan and some of the Andrew Schultz, and some of them are starting to push back against Donald Trump because of this whole Epstein thing. Once you get those bro podcasts going against Donald Trump, that's going to have a big impact on young people. Roseanne says it's happening all over YouTube too. I can't tell you how many people I've seen complaining that their comments were erased. They also make it hard to fight it. Yeah, they do. I think I got one video taken down, and it was not because anybody reported it. I think somebody used a word that whatever the algorithm didn't like, and they took it down. I appealed it. I didn't get it back. But that's the only problem I've ever had on YouTube. I have pretty good luck getting away with things. You know, a lot of times, well, every time, the podcast is put on YouTube as well as Spotify. And there are some shit there said on that show from some of the guests. I'm going, oh shit, this one's going to get me in trouble. You can't really say that. I mean, I know the boundaries. I know the red line. I don't usually cross it. But some of the guests don't get it. And I get nervous about running that on YouTube. But I haven't been hit up yet, as yet. But I block everybody on YouTube. That's a Trump fuck too. Spacer says also what nobody is talking about. The Republicans are on a time limit with this gerrymandering. Eric might know a little more, but I think depending on when Republicans submit new maps, if they do go through with it, they may not be able to go in effect until 2026. Well, that's true, but it depends on when in 2026. Of course, the midterm elections are in November, so it might have an impact on that. The Republicans are going to do what they're going to do. The Democrats should fight back, should push back by gerrymandering some of the states and um, canceling out all the things the Republicans do. I mean, here's the thing about Republicans we know. They're going to do these horrible things, but just like their Lord and Savior, they always fuck it up. They're never totally successful. Adam Grant says, I think Joe voter never looks at voting records of the candidates. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they should, but I believe you're right. Les Hook, what do you think of a lot of countries recognizing Gaza as a sovereign state and silence from the U.S.? The thing about Israel and Gaza, I don't generally talk about it much. And it's not because I'm afraid to talk about it. It's because I don't have a dog in the fight. We got so much shit here. I don't need to take on somebody else's problems. Now, granted, Israel and Hamas, this war is problematic. But Donald Trump said he'd wrap it up in short order, which he hasn't. Um, every time you speak out against Israel, people will come back and say you're anti-Semitic. Now, if you want to say I'm anti-Semitic, go ahead. I don't give a fuck. But here's the deal. I don't have a problem with Israel. I don't have a problem with the people of Israel. I have a huge problem with the leaders and the government of Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. And if he doesn't have a war going, he's going to get kicked out and probably put in jail. So his motivation is to constantly be in some kind of conflict. Hamas has wanted to end this thing, but Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't want to because he's trying to save his time or save his ass. Spacer says Netanyahu is on borrowed time. Yeah, he's on borrowed time. This can't go on forever. This cannot go on forever. And he knows he's losing his grip. He knows that people are more and more seeing him for what he is and don't particularly like the motherfucker. So, it's interesting, though, that Canada recognized Gaza and the Palestinians, and that's the reason Donald Trump punished them by adding 10% to the tariff that's taking effect in about 10 minutes. In about 10 minutes, the tariffs are going to take effect. He says 35% to Canada. Now, what that covers, I don't particularly know. From what I've heard, as I said, it doesn't necessarily cover anything within the trade agreement that Donald Trump made with Canada and Mexico. And if that's the case, that covers 94% of all the products coming from Canada. So that means 6% of that coming from Canada are on these 35% tariffs, which probably won't have much effect. And that's typical of Donald Trump. Talk big, do fucking nothing. America pays Israel for free abortions, but not here. Education, too. Yeah, we give them a couple $100 million a year or $1 billion a year. If you had that money here, you could give free education, free health care, and a lot of shit. We find the money to send to Israel, but we can't find the money for the people of this country. Doesn't that sound strange? Go back to what we were talking about with AIPAC. They keep seeding or priming the well with money going to our members of Congress, and they keep getting $200 billion for nothing. We get nothing in return for that, as far as I understand it. Again, now people will say, well, he's anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Semitic. If you're going to bitch about sending money to foreign countries, you got to consider Israel too, especially when they're doing the things they're doing. And again, it's not Israel, it's not the people, it's the leadership. Same thing could be said about this country. This country, the United States of America, equally does fucked up shit. It's not because we're bad people. It's because Donald Trump is an idiot. He's a criminal. Israel has the same problem we have here in the United States, and we need to address that. Uh, oh, yeah, this is a good one. Why does Trump think he can build a ballroom addition to the White House in which he and private donors pay for? Um, this is the interesting thing. He wants to build a golden ballroom to the tune of $200 million. You know what the irony of this is? He just went over to the Fed because he was trying to claim that Jerome Powell was spending recklessly on renovating the Fed. And of course, when he got there, we find out that Donald Trump didn't know what he was talking about again. He's complaining about all the money he's spending, but this dumb fuck wants to build a golden ballroom, and it doesn't stop there. He wants to get a free plane that's going to cost us $1 billion to fucking renovate. Yeah, let's talk about wasting money. Donald Trump loves the waste, loves to cut waste. He's the biggest waste of money and space and fucking oxygen there is. Out of the world players, China is one winning on Trump's screw ups. Yeah, China is. Well, China's smart and they're powerful in their own right. Donald Trump extended their deadline to September 12th, I think, or is it? No, August 12th. August 12th. They still have time. And, the funny thing is when you look at uh, Bissett, the Treasury Secretary, yeah, we're talking about it. I think we have a deal. We might have a deal. It looks good, but I'm not sure if we're going to have a deal. That's weird because didn't Donald Trump a couple, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago say, we cut a deal with China? I thought you cut the deal with China. Now you're in talks, hoping to do it. And you've extended the deadline to August 12th. Do you have a deal or don't you have a deal? Or do you just have a concept of a fucking deal? See, that's the problem here. Nobody knows what's going on, even Donald Trump. Problem with Donald Trump, he's reactionary. Every time somebody does something he doesn't like, he tries to punish them with tariffs. Now he wants to put tariffs on Russia. So the fuck what? They've already been tariffed to death. Donnie, he's your buddy. He's your best girlfriend. Go cut the deal. Wrap up this war with Ukraine in 24 hours like you said you would. But Donnie will come back and say, well, it's a lot harder than people thought. No, it's a lot harder than you thought, dumb fuck. Everybody else knew that you would fail. Um, yeah, it's the tariff thing. This is the problem. Nobody in this internationally wants to negotiate with Donald Trump because deals don't mean anything. He cuts a deal, then he changes the deal, then he changes it back, and then he does another deal, and then he makes more threats and tries to demand more deals. He's never happy. How do you negotiate? How do you sign an agreement with somebody who doesn't follow through with the agreements they lay out? He'll never get a real deal with anybody. As I've said, he claims to have 8 deals now, but they're just uh, frameworks of deals. There's nothing signed. The idea that all these people are going to invest money into this country. Well, if they are truly investing hundreds of billions of dollars in this country, where's the money going? Is it going in your pocket, Donnie? Is it going into the general fund? Since you're cutting waste, that would be our tax dollars. Wouldn't it make sense that you just send the shit back to us? But I got to tell you, you keep hearing about stimulus checks and all that stuff. Don't be fooled by that. They're never, ever, ever going to send anybody money in this country. They just aren't going to do it. That's not Donald Trump's speed. Donald Trump doesn't do that sort of thing. Haley says, do you think Donald will be able to get away with being a pedophile given all the evidence that is coming forward? He's trying all the distractions he can muster. Yeah, I think he's going to get caught up in this one eventually. I think it was Jamie Raskin in one of the committees? He found a law that says it's called the Rule of 5. And it's regarding the Freedom of Information Act. And this law of 5 says if you get 5 members of Congress to insist on releasing documents from DOJ or wherever else, they have to do it. Not a court thing, not anything, not a choice thing. They have to do it. That is the rule. That is the law. So they plan to do that. They'll easily get 5 people to sign on to something like that. And for all intents and purposes, they're going to have to release it according to the law. Now, we know that Donald Trump doesn't necessarily follow the law, but it's yet another thing that's going to put more pressure on him. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm kind of hoping they don't release the files for a long while, because the longer they don't release those files, the longer it stays in the news, the longer it's more of a problem for Donald Trump. Now, if it comes out and it's revealed that he is who we know he is, that's going to be a problem too. He's going to be destroyed. And ultimately, that stuff will come out. See, there's a lot of things in those files that probably will never come out, like the videos. There's tons and tons of videos, but those videos are tantamount to kiddie porn. So they're not going to release that for the general public, but they should release it to members of Congress so we know what the fuck is going on. I would not be surprised if there's some leak, too, with regards to the files. And here's something else I was thinking about. I actually saw another creator suggest this, and I thought, wow, that's a distinct possibility. Remember when Elon Musk said Donnie's on the list? Remember when he said that? He said that with a lot of confidence. And Donnie freaked out when he said it. And this kind of started this whole ball rolling here. But what has Elon also done? Hasn't Elon taken his little Doge twinks in all these departments, stealing files and all that stuff? Who's to say that Elon doesn't have a copy of the Epstein files from the DOJ that his little Doge twinks stole? Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be crazy? Now, if that's the case, he's going to use it for leverage and try to get something out of it. But if he gets mad and crazy enough, and he's definitely one of those fucks, we might see some things leaking out that Donnie definitely does not want leaking out. There's already been things leaking out. Isn't that funny? The things that have leaked out had to have come from the DOJ. This tells me there are people that are working around Donald Trump and in the DOJ that are getting nervous, that they're going to go down the toilet with Donald Trump. So they're trying to release some things to get him the fuck out of there. We're seeing the same thing with Pete Hegseth in the Department of Defense. All these people are starting to gang up on Pete Hegseth. It's taken way too long, but I think people see the writing on the wall. They see that this will not last forever, that people are going to go down, and as long as they're standing next to these fucks, they're going to go down with them too. So we'll see if that's true, but it does kind of seem like it. James says it's close to the 50-day deadline for Putin, yet he probably thinks we've forgotten about it. Yeah, he gave a 2-week deadline. We blew past that. Yeah, Donnie's not good with deadlines. He puts out the deadlines thinking people are terrified of him and they will bend to his will. Vladimir Putin will never bend to that motherfucker, ever. In fact, every time Donald Trump talks to him or talks shit about Vladimir Putin, he goes bombs more places in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is flat out shoving it in Donald Trump's face. He's rubbing his nose in it. And you notice Donald Trump doesn't say anything too mean about Vladimir Putin. Why? Because he's a pussy-ass bitch. That's why. Yeah, the Epstein thing is something that's going to go on for a long time. The House of Representatives wanted to take a 5 or 6 week vacation, hoping people will forget about it. They're not going to forget about it. They're not going to forget about it. And you know, one of the main reasons why they won't forget about it? Because Donald Trump can't shut up. This whole thing got worse and worse and worse because Donald Trump talks. And he says different shit every time he talks. He said he got rid of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein because he was a creep. And then he comes out and says, well, I did it because he was stealing my employees. He stole my employees. And then somebody says, well, was Virginia Giuffre one of your employees that he stole? Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think it was. Well, that was the wrong thing to do. That paints a whole different picture and offers up some different scenarios that Donald Trump hasn't even thought of. Like I've always said, let Donald Trump talk. He will implicate himself every time. He will fuck up every time. And we're just starting him fucking up. Oh, I just Googled it, and it was reported Monday that Trump has shortened the time and gave Putin until August 7th to the 9th to make progress. LOL, he is such a clown. Yeah, I'm sure Vladimir Putin's shaking in his pants. Vlad's going, it's August 6th. Get the P tape ready, because Donnie's going to get a big fucking surprise. Yeah, I don't doubt it. That's the thing about it when I talk to Trumple fucks. They don't even realize what a joke he is, how he can't get anything accomplished. I mean, he can go he's like a rock group that goes into a hotel room and tears it apart for no reason at all. But in the end, there's no substance there. There's nothing he accomplishes. And I would tell you this deportation thing, this is going to be a problem for Donald Trump and all the people involved in it, from Trump to Noam to Homan to all the ICE people and all the members of Congress. What's going on here is categorically illegal, unconstitutional. Arresting people, assaulting people, kidnapping people. There's going to be a reckoning for those folks that have been doing this. They're not going to get away with it. When Donald Trump is done, which is hopefully sooner than later, they're going to say, well, I just did what I was ordered to do. Well, that didn't work too well in Germany. It's not going to work here. And these fuckers that think they're powerful now, they're in for some deep shit when it's all done, and Donald Trump can't protect them anymore. Tom Homan and Kristi Noem included. You don't see those guys running around. I saw Tom Homan whining and crying, I can't even go home because of death threats. What the fuck do you expect? You start treating people like animals, acting like SS troops. You think people are just going to say, God, you're doing a good job. That's not what's going to happen. People are starting to push back, and the pushback is going to get more and more every time. And you fuckers that think you have all the power, the time is going to change. The time is going to come when you're going to get buried, and good for you. Let's see here. Some countries have to be crazy to buy beef, pork, and chicken from the USA. Yeah, absolutely. Why buy it here if you can get it someplace else? And here's the thing. Once it's all said and done and Donald Trump backs off tariffs or another president gets in, once people are buying shit from another place, why would they switch back to the United States? Donald Trump is doing permanent damage to the agricultural business in this country. And the agricultural business is really the base of our economy. You fuck that up, you fuck up a lot of people. And that's exactly what he's done. I just read Mike Whatley, RNC chair, is running against Roy Cooper in North Carolina. Can't wait to see him crash and burn. Hopefully, Laura runs for something and slips on her own feet. Get out the popcorn. Yeah, Roy Cooper is probably going to do well in North Carolina, and that would be hilarious uh, if Mike Whatley. I'm sure Mike Whatley probably won't even run. It's one of those scare tactics. Oh, you better not run because Mike Whatley's running. Who gives a fuck about Mike Whatley? Who gives a fuck about Pete Hegseth running for governor in Tennessee? Doesn't have not even in a backward fucking state like Tennessee can Pete Hegseth get elected governor. I just don't believe that. Um, he's a he's a Republican, and they are a Republican state, but he's a dumbass Republican. He's a failed Republican. If he ends up quitting or getting fired from the Defense Department, you think Tennessee wants a loser for fucking governor? I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be interesting to see what these people try to do once they start leaving. And that's one thing I think we're going to see because things are going so badly and there's so much chaos in the various departments, whether it be Pam Bondi in the DOJ, Hegseth in the Defense Department, or any of the others. There's so much chaos, so much pressure. Nothing is getting done. They're failing at every turn. You're going to start seeing people resigning because they either can't handle it or they see the writing on the wall that they're going off the cliff and they're going to go down with Donald Trump and they don't want to do it. The unfortunate thing they probably don't understand is even if they quit today, when it's all said and done, people are gonna still say, "Oh, you're a Trump fucker, you asshole. You're not go." Somebody like Marco Rubio, his career is done. He's a goof. He's a horrible Secretary of State. He's a Trump humper. Donald Trump has insulted him, his family, and everything, and he still kisses his ass. This is going to hang with somebody like Marco Rubio for a long time, and he's still a relatively young guy. You would think he'd hope for a long career, but he isn't going to have one. Spacer says most likely they're trying to save their careers when they see Trump burn. It's a sorry excuse for an attempt, if you can even call it that. Yeah, yeah, they're trying. There's going to be a lot of people trying to save their skin. There's also going to be a lot of people talking shit about Donald Trump when the first few break through. Once it looks safe, they'll all jump on board. It'll be like a fucking dog pile, and then they'll get brave. But what these people don't understand is that it's too late. It's too late. You made your bed. And now you're going to have to live with the stink of Donald Trump all over you for the rest of your lives. And you know what? You fucking deserve it. You absolutely fucking deserve it. So we'll see when they start jumping ship. We're already seeing some of it. I mean, members of Congress are deciding not to run again. Uh, and it could be a combination of things. They're tired of the shit show and doing nothing in Congress, or they're seeing what's going to happen to Donald Trump and the Republicans when it's all said and done. So you're going to see a lot of people exiting the Republican Party, or at least this particular um, Congress, or even his cabinet. I think you'll see more cabinets. There's talk of Pam Bondi quitting. If I was Pam Bondi, I would quit. You're in a no-win situation. You're going to look fucked up. I would get out as quickly as I can and try to rehabilitate my image if I could. I don't think she'll be able to. The other thing that some of these people have to worry about is that when this is all said and done, there are some people that committed crime. People like Pam Bondi, people like Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, some of the members of the cabinet. They're going to have to address the issue of their criminal activity. And once there are people of a reasonable mind in control, don't be surprised if you see investigations, prosecutions, and some jail time. Because remember, during Watergate, and even though Richard Nixon got pardoned, there were many people in his cabinet, including his attorney general, that went to fucking jail. Wouldn't that be fun? Watching Pam Bondi get prosecuted and sent to fucking detention camp in Alligator Alcatraz. Would fucking love that. That would be awesome. Um, I was going to bring up something else. I did a TikTok about this. Um, it always amazes me how Republicans will support and vote for things that go against their own interest. I mean, for example, immigrants will vote for Donald Trump and then they'll get loaded on a train and sent to a fucking jail in El Salvador. They'll do that. Or they'll have health care through Medicaid and they'll vote for Donald Trump and the Republicans and they'll get their Medicaid taken away. Why would you do that? I mean, that's absolutely ignorant. That's stupid. Either you're not paying attention or you're an idiot. Maybe a combination thereof. But there's a guy that's the Secretary of the Treasury, Bessent. You know him? Forgot his first name. I was just saying it earlier. Bessent. He's a big supporter of Donald Trump. He supports everything Donald Trump does. He was a wealthy guy before he came in. He's come from um, money hereditarily and in his own right. But here's the thing. Here's a guy that's had some success, is very wealthy, but he was desperate to be the Secretary of the Treasury and work for Donald Trump. He didn't need the money. He had power in whatever job he was doing before. But this is the most fucked up thing. And this is why I truly dislike this Bessent guy. Did you know that Bessent is openly gay man? Which is cool. I don't hate him for that. He's also a gay man who's legally married to another man. Again, I'm cool with that. I have nothing against him for that. He is also part of this gay couple that have surrogate kids. My problem with this is here's a guy that is part of the LGBT community from top to bottom, gay, married, surrogate kids. Yet he sides with Donald Trump, who is trying to marginalize and even injure and exterminate people in the LGBT community. This motherfucker is working against his own community, his own people, his own fucking family to make money and gain power of which he already fucking had. Is this a miserable fuck or what? I dislike this guy. He's disingenuous. He has no credibility with me, and I can't wait till he gets his comeuppance. Spacer says J.D. Vance is going around Ohio, I think, to start a sorry excuse for a presidential campaign. He called the cities in Ohio basically garbage. I think Ohio will be up for grabs soon for the Democrats if they don't screw up. Well, I hope that's true. But yeah, if I'm J.D. Vance, I'm thinking Donnie's a fuck up. He's gonna fuck this up. I better get ready to take a job I'm not qualified for as president of the United States. And everybody says, well, he's worse than Donald Trump. No, he's not. No, he's not. Donald Trump is a wild card. And the reason Republicans don't like him now is because while he can be manipulated, he will come out of his ass with some crazy shit and you can't stop him. He's unpredictable. He will do stupid shit. J.D. Vance is more controllable. He's somebody that will be manipulated all the time. Not to mention the fact that Donald Trump's strength lies in his charisma, and I don't really think he has charisma in that sense, but his power over the base and his power over members of Congress. Let me ask you this. Say there's a bill that needs to be passed. Do you really think that J.D. Vance can call up members of Congress and say, you better pass that bill or else? Nobody respects that motherfucker. Nobody likes that motherfucker. They aren't going to sign bills that they don't believe in. They do it with Donald Trump, but they'll never do it with J.D. Vance. Bonnie is going to lose her law license, just like most of the attorneys that got into bed with Trump. Yeah, you're right. I don't know why anybody would want to be a lawyer for Donald Trump. They either get fired, they resign, they lose their law license, or they get indicted. The odds aren't really good for being somebody who's a lawyer for Donald Trump. Incandescent Light says we need to figure out how to take down the entire Heritage Foundation. Well, that's easy. We get rid of the Trumplafucks, because without the Trumplafucks and the people in the position in Congress or the people in the White House, they can't do shit. They've been trying to do shit for years, but they couldn't. This one time now when the electorate in this country voted these motherfuckers in, this is why it can happen. You take that power away from them, they can't do anything anymore. Roseanne says, Scott Bessent, he always looks like a mannequin propped on a stick in a showroom. Yeah, he does. He's a weirdo. And that stick would probably be directly up his anal cavity because he's just standing there and he's got this prim and proper look. You're a complicit motherfucker, Scott Bessent, and we hate you for it. Spacer says, Vance is the snowflake of snowflakes. Yeah, that's the other thing. He would not be able to handle the beating that Donald Trump takes. The only reason Donald Trump can take a beating is because he's delusional. You could say whatever you want to him, and he still thinks he's a fucking genius. J.D. Vance knows he's a loser. Congress will pressure Vance for what legislation they want. You're right. They're such weirdos. Seriously, all of their administration is. They are weirdo. They're strange. They're goofy. They're weird. You're absolutely right about that. And, I've gotten to the point with this situation. I really thought Kamala would win. Common sense and logic told me that she would. Then she doesn't. And then after the fact, Donald Trump gets in. And I thought, well, Congress is only going to let him do so much. They're going to push back against him. And then they don't. But common sense and logic play no role here at all. It's incredibly frustrating watching these people continue to be complicit when they know it's wrong. Like Scott Bessent, he knows that tariffs don't work. He knows that all the shit that Donald Trump wants to do is stupid. He's a financial guy. But instead of standing up and saying, "No, Donnie, this isn't going to work, but this will," instead of doing that, he just goes along with whatever Donald Trump says, even though he knows it's wrong. He's the biggest pussy ass bitch of them all, and he's a traitor to his own community. Vance will be controlled by Murdoch. Why did he visit last weekend? Well, there's a couple of reasons he might have visited last weekend. Um, some people think this thing with Murdoch may be the start of the oligarchs trying to take Donald Trump out. I mean, if the Republicans were to give him the 25th Amendment or impeach him, they would lose the base. The only other two options with Donald Trump to keep the Republican Party somewhat unified is if he chokes on a Big Mac and keels over on the Oval Office floor, or if they destroy him and the base sees who he is, like Epstein's best friend. They destroy his image and then they impeach him. And then they can try to maintain at least some of the base to stick with the Republican Party and walk away from Donald Trump. I think Vance will be a Jeb Bush situation, wants to be president and will cry when it doesn't happen. He might be handed the presidency. Trump chokes on a McNugget, but he won't be legitimate. And, to be honest with you, some of these people who have committed crimes, J.D. Vance is one of them, too. His future doesn't look very bright. Even if he became president for a period of time, he would never win a re-election, and he's certainly in a position where he could be prosecuted as well. Trump choking on a McNugget sounds more funny and realistic. It does. I don't give a fuck what he chokes on. I don't care what he chokes on as long as something takes him out. Incandescent light, they're going to force Trump out as soon as they think his fan base pulls away. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree with you on that. They really have to do that. They have to destroy him reputationally, which is ridiculous. We know what his reputation is, but his reputation with dumb fucks is good. So we've got to destroy their perception of Donald Trump, and then the Republicans will get rid of him. You're absolutely right about that. I think so. Do you think DT and Epstein killed in Do you think DT had Epstein killed in jail? Epstein's brother does. Um, I don't know. I don't. I mean, here's what you got to understand. Um, Donald Trump is a dumb fuck, and he always fucks up. And at least to date, that was a successful mission. I don't believe Donald Trump has the ability to uh, execute a mission properly. But what you have to understand, he's not the only one in those documents. There's a lot of rich, wealthy oligarchs, movie stars, rock stars, politicians. There's a lot of people in there that aren't as incompetent as Donald Trump. It could have been anybody that set something up like that. The problem for Republicans is that a lot of Trump voters were either former Dems or never voters. Once he's gone, they'll lose all of them no matter what. Yeah, there'll be a lot of people that just go to not voting. Incandescent light, the trickle out of Epstein stuff to keep it in front and center. I think that is the very, very intentional. I do too. I do too. And I said that before when Wall Street Journal put out the first thing about the birthday card. I said there's more coming, and there has been more coming. We're going to see things trickle out. For all I know, remember what I said about Elon somehow getting hold of the Epstein files? I don't know that that's true, but it's conceivable based on what Elon did with Doge and stealing files and such. But if Elon Musk did steal the files, don't you think he might be feeding them to Murdoch and then Murdoch putting them out, waiting for Donald Trump to sue him so he can lay that shit on the table and expose it to everybody? That may be a pie in the sky or a hopeful thing for me, but you got to admit, you can see how that might be the case. James, they are setting up Trump to be impeached or resign. They have no more use for him. This is why they allow him to constantly speak to the press. That's a good point too. I will say this, knowing Donald Trump as a narcissist, I don't think he'll ever resign. He'll either keel over or he'll be impeached. That's the thing about a narcissist. People will say the pressure will get too much, he'll unalive himself. No, he won't. Narcissists don't do that. They think they're the best person in the world. They're not going to do that. They're more likely to go after somebody else as opposed to them. Donald Trump cannot, will not ever admit he's wrong or that he's failed. And if he resigns, he would have to do that. And the only way he would resign, maybe, is if he could get something out of that, like a pardon. But that doesn't save him from state crime. And remember, he has 34 felonies from state crimes. That when he's out of office, it can be brought back up. He can be sentenced for those crimes. They're already convictions. They haven't gone away. They can't. They can't sentence him because he's the president. But if he's no longer the president, that shit can come back to haunt him. And since Letitia James is the Attorney General of New York, yeah, I think there's it's going to come back to haunt him. If Trump is pushed out, he will not back down. He'll take the whole party with him. If he does make it to 2028, whoever the nominee is, he will tear them down as much as he would a Democrat. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, even if Donald Trump survived to 2028, there's no way the Republicans are going to make him a candidate. There's no way. He will have destroyed the country and destroyed the Republican Party. The last thing they're going to want to be doing is tied to an anchor like Donald motherfucking Trump. They ain't going to want to do that. So, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. In short, the Republicans have no future. No. The Democrats may not have a future either unless they do the right thing. Who is Congress really taking their orders from? This is the only thing that makes no sense. Not all want to vote this way. They do it anyway. Well, they're serving two masters, apparently. They're serving Donald Trump, the Republicans. And the rest of them, Democrats and Republicans, are serving the PACs, like AIPAC and some of the other ones. They ain't serving us. I guarantee you that. They're definitely not serving us. And that's the problem. Whoever they are serving, it's the wrong people. And that's one thing that we've got to get straight. We've got to figure out and fix. That's the one problem there. All right, we're coming to the end here. I want to thank you all for showing up, participating, talking, asking questions, making comments. Makes doing this so much easier and so much more fun. That's why I like doing the Substack. It's low key, but a lot of you folks come out, you have great points, great insights, and it makes doing this a lot of fun and it makes it real easy. And because I'm old and retired, I'm a lazy bastard, so I like easy shit. So thank you for that. I appreciate it immensely. For those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.